All right. Now, open that list, and I'm going to go through 20 questions that I am submitting that you should have asked this accountant if you're really going to get a good view or in-depth analysis as to where this guy is or where this woman is with their business. Okay? 20 questions. And as I go through these 20, I just want you to ask one question. Did I ask this or not? And if you did, write yes. If not, no. Just in fact, on this same sheet of paper, you just might write down 1 through 20 and just quickly write down Y for yes or N for no. Yes, I've asked that and I got the information, or no, I don't have the information. I might have asked it, but it only counts again if you have the information. All right? Do you have the answer to these 20 questions? If you do, for each one, write yes. If you don't, write a no. Here we go. 20 key questions that you should know if you've done a thorough job of mapping their world, of understanding this business. All right? Question number 1. Ask them this. If I asked anyone in your marketing area, you've spent how much money in the last 3 years, Mr. and Mrs. Advertiser? Okay, you've spent this much money in the last 3 years convincing people you exist. Here's the question. If I go to anyone in this area and say, we'll leave the light on for you, who do you think of first? They'll say Motel 6. I could ask anyone in this area, you're going to like the way you look, I guarantee it. And most people will say Men's Warehouse. So what's the one thing I can say that they'll all give me your name, Mr. and Mrs. Advertiser? What's the one phrase, the one sentence I can say, and without question, they'll give me your name? And watch as their face gets white, ashen gray, because they realize they've been, frankly, whizzing away their money with very little impact. All these other people are known for something. What are they known for? Not much. It's time to stop the insanity. Now, that's the most on edge, by the way, or in their face I ever want to get. As I map their world and ask these questions, the worst thing I can ever do is get into a discussion or rebuttal or firefight. In other words, let's say they say something about my radio station. And they say, I think your radio station stinks. You've got to bite your tongue till it bleeds. All right? Because if I start confronting this person or start debating this person, what happens? All communication shuts down. Because now we're going, and I can win the battle and lose the war. I'd rather lose the battle and win the war. The time to discuss about your radio station or any concerns they might have is not now. The time to do that is get it out now. Let me have it. Spear me, baby. Dump. You want it all out now, and as much as you can get out now. Non-judgmental. Let them spear you. Bite your tongue till it bleeds. The time to take this battle back is after you've done your research and your homework, and then you come back in your full-blown presentation. We call it the strategy or the mission, if you will, but we'll get to that later on in this tape series. Right now, what we're talking about, we're not talking about proposals, strategic missions. What we're talking about is getting the most information you can out of this person. And this is the time to do that in a non-judgmental way, which means do not rebut anything. Just say, spear me, let me have it. Smile, and you want them to dump and spear as much as they can so you can get all this information out now so you can deal with it at a later time. So not only will I ask, what do you stand for based on the money you spent in the last 3 years, or do you even have an image, I'll ask a lot of other questions, like, number 2, what makes you so good that I should shop you instead of any of the other competitors? What is your unique competitive edge, in other words? What's your unique selling proposition? Why should I shop you instead of the other 20 turkeys that sell the same thing you sell? Question number 3, who are their competitors? Did you have that written down? Who is their competition? And what does the competition do better than them? And what do they do better than the competition? Who are their competitors? Who are their competitors? What does the competition do better? What do you do better than the competition? All right, next question. I might ask, by the way, who specifically are your customers? And I'm not talking 25 to 54. We made that up, right? We all know that's a family reunion. What we're talking about here is who are the 20% of your customers that do 80% of your business? Where's the main category, the type of customers? It might not be a demographic, it might be a psychographic, but where's the bulk of your business coming from? What 20% of your customers make up 80% of your business? Because every business has that kind of rule going for it. It's called the 25-75 rule, or the 70-30, 80-20. Don't get hung up on the numbers. The point is, a smaller amount of customers do the majority of their business. So when I ask who is your customer, I'm looking for a block of people, generally within a 10-year, 15-year spread of demographic. What do you want them to know about your business? Next question. Did you ask them, what is it that people want to know about their business? If you know, write that down. If not, just write a no, I don't know that. What's the most successful promotion they've ever done? If you know the most successful promotion they've ever done, great. If you don't know, keep going. Just write a no and let's see what else you know. Ask them also, by the way, when is the next promotion? Do you know when their next promotion is planned? If you ask that and know when their next promotion is, great. That's a yes. If not, write no. Keep going. Next question. Ask them this. What are your expectations when you advertise? When you spend money, what do you expect for results? And how do you measure those results? If you know that, write yes. In fact, write down the formula again. If not, write down no. I know I don't know. What are their expectations results? How do they measure results? Next question. What media works best for them? Based on all their advertising, all the money they've spent, what media works best? And again, if they say newspaper, don't go, wait a minute, go, great. What do you like about the newspaper? In fact, if you could make the newspaper better, what would you do to change it? You're just probing and digging, but don't ever rebut or confront any of these answers. Again, bring it on out. If newspaper works, great. Why? And encourage and support. Don't start debating. What is their annual ad budget? Do you know what their, and again, not talking radio budget, what is their total annual budget? If you know, write that down. If you don't know their total budget, then put an N, no I don't know, or a question mark. You got to go back. All right, couple other questions for you. What's their average sale? That helps a lot in determining what? Results. How many of these things you got to sell to break even and then to make money? And that will be based on what their average sale is. Another question, what's their turn ratio? The number of times that product has to sell off the shelf in 1 year to be at a proper ratio. Women's shoes used to be 6. So the turn ratio for women's shoes is 6. In other words, that same pair of shoes needs to sell 6 times in the course of a year. So if they're only at 4, that means what? It's not turning as quick as it should. There's a problem there. Maybe we can help. Question number 13. What are your gross sales last year? What are your sales this year? And how are you pacing? Again, one of the most important numbers, probably the one tattooed to their forehead that they worry the most about is, am I going to hit my number this year? Whatever that number is. They're worried about their number just like you're worried about hitting your budget or goal or whatever you're trying to hit this year with your sales. Same type of thing. That's your business and that's their business. Now you ask, how are you pacing? Because that gives you an up-to-the-date snapshot. Give you an example. If you ask a person, what do you want, well, how are you doing in April? And he says, well, in April, I'd like to do what I did last year, April. If I can do what I did last year in April, I'd feel good about that. And you say, okay, well, that's interesting. Tell me this, how are you doing for the year? In other words, January, February, March, how are you pacing this year? He goes, well, I'm 10% down. So if he's been 10% down the last 3 months, if he can do even in April compared to last year, that really isn't just even, it's really what? It's a 10% increase off of his pace or up from his pace. So knowing what they did last year is important, but also knowing their last 3 months, 90 days, pacing going into this month or this period is crucial as well. All right? That's the most important thing, is pacing where we're at now, not just what they did last year, but I got to know the number. That's important. Another question, number 14. What would make me a hero in your eyes 6 months from now? What would make me a hero in your eyes 6 months from now? They're going to tell you what? How they want to be sold, how they want to be serviced, how they want to be handled. And another question that's a corollary to that is, what can I do to make you a hero in your company 6 months from now? Because a lot of time you're dealing with mid-level people. They're not just the owner, they're in a bigger company, and they're trying to move up the ladder. So if you can help them get where they're going, guess what happens to you? Now, beyond those questions, a few other questions you might want to ask and know the answers to. Hey, how did you ever get in this business anyway? Great. In fact, if you got 30 minutes, you need spare 30 minutes, just ask, hey, how did you ever get in this crazy car business anyway? And then shut up. People love talking about themselves. Number one favorite subject is yourself. So you need some time. And by the way, if you want to know their story, because every business has a story, and some of the greatest campaigns are people just telling their story, or you helping someone tell their story. So what is their story? How did you get in this business anyway? And not only is it interesting, maybe it's the seeds of a great campaign. Okay? Last 2, 3 questions you might want to ask someone if you do a good, complete business profile. Question number 17 is, where would you like this business to be 3 years from now? Where do you want it to go 3 years from now? What is success 3 years from now? What does it look like? One of the questions that Roy Williams always asked, the wizard, he always asked, how will you measure success? Where is your North Star? Where's your one thing that is not going to change? Because if they can't tell you what success is, chances are they're never going to tell you. In fact, what they're going to tell you is they're going to jerk you around the rest of your life. If they cannot tell you what success is, because if they don't know, how will you know when you get there? That has to be well defined. And Roy's advice is, if they can't tell you what success is, run. And that's my advice as well. Because you'll never get success out of this person if they won't tell you right up front. Do they have trouble finding good people? Number one need of most businesses in America today is finding good people. Ask them if they're having that trouble, because you obviously have some solutions in forms of recruitment, but ask them up front that question and see if it's a need. If it's not, you don't bother with it. Is there a particular cause, by the way? Question number 19. A particular cause that they are supporting or interested in or is important to them in their business? Most business people have a cause. They support the Kidney Foundation or the American Cancer Society, or maybe it's the AC. I mean, there's a lot of different causes out there. From March of Dimes, I go right through the list. Find out what their cause is. And by the way, when something like that comes up at your station, a fundraiser, you'd be amazed at how easy it is to match those two up. Everyone's got a cause. And by the way, it's a great money maker, not only for you, but a way for them to get behind and support their cause if your station or some other way you can partner them into that cause becomes available to you. Last question, when can we get together again? Never, ever leave any sales call, frankly, without agreeing to the next step. What's next? And in this case, after you've done a complete business profile, when can I get together? I think I could come up with some ideas for you, by the way. When would be a good chance for us to get together again after I've had a chance to process this and come back with some solutions? Never leave without agreeing to the next step. Crucial, crucial element, all right? That's really what makes up a good needs analysis. Now, I've also included on the enclosed material a set of questions for ad agencies as well. Because what I ask an ad agency is completely different than what I would ask a local direct client. Two different types of businesses, two different sets of needs. So based on some expert advice from Roy Williams' staff at Williams Marketing, as well as some reps that work primarily with agencies in top markets like Chicago, Detroit, LA, Dallas, based on their collective input, I'm giving you, and you'll find in the enclosed material, the top 12 questions you need to ask any agency as well. But if you're going to map someone's world, it always starts with a list of good open-ended questions. It always starts with looking at this business and trying to get behind their eyeballs and look at the world as they see it. And if you can do that, the rest is going to take care of itself. By the way, you do a lousy job, everything else is not going to matter. Because if you haven't diagnosed a need or found a pain, all the other steps don't matter. Because you're really not coming back with information that relates to their pain or relates to solving or bringing them a need that you're trying to fulfill. So you got to find it in this step. If you don't find it, you got to keep going back until you find something that you can help them with, grow their business, or relieve some kind of pain. You miss it here, everything else is not going to add up at all. So when you map this world, understand it might be a little boring asking these questions over and over again, but they are very powerful questions, and the information, you better be all ears. And in a good Mapping the World session, you listen 20% of the time, and 80% of the time, you bite your tongue till it bleeds and listen. Because they're going to tell you exactly what their need is and, frankly, how you can partner with them on a long-term basis. All right? Good luck. We'll see you in the next stage.